Hi, I'm Don Blackwell. I'm the Executive Director of the Gospel Broadcasting Network, and I have here with me today Brother Rob Whitaker. Rob works with House to House, Heart to Heart, specifically their School of Evangelism. Rob and I have been friends for a long time. It's always good to have Rob with us and to get to fellowship. And for about the next half hour, he's going to talk to us about the evangelistic effort that they have going on there. And I think that it's one of the best things we have going in the Brotherhood today. So glad to have you here with us today, Rob.
Don, it's always good to be here at Gospel Broadcasting Network, and I'm looking forward to talking about the school.
Well, thank you very much. Let me begin and just ask you, House to House School of Evangelism, how did that get started?
You know, evangelism has always been a passion of mine. In fact, I can say that the reason I became a preacher was because of evangelism. I can remember talking to my dad and mom at one point. I'd gotten out and got my pilot's license. I'd been around the airline industry all my life. My dad worked for Delta Airlines. I thought that was going to be, you know, my profession. And I came home one day and my mother tells me, she said, "Son, you looked at us and said, you can take people higher with the gospel than an airplane, and you want to be a preacher." And my preaching desire was because I wanted to help people go to heaven. I had converted my closest friend, Mel Hutzler. Then Mel and I together just started converting all of our friends. Our youth group grew from 5 or 6 to 15, 16 folks. In fact, we even converted some of their parents.
Wow.
We went to the school preaching together. We went to our works. Evangelism has always been my passion. My wife, you know, she adopted that passion. My children, we've incorporated it into Poole, Kentucky, Hillsborough, Tennessee, and now then at Willette, Red Bowling Springs, Tennessee. And we've seen churches grow in each of these works because of personal Bible studies. Well, you know, people begin to notice those type of things. So I begin to get phone calls. One day, it was Alan Webster. He called me and said, "Rob, would you come to Polishing the Pulpit and share with, you know, churches the evangelism methods and techniques that you're using?" So I went to Polishing the Pulpit. I got in one of those small, you know, little classrooms. I thought to be lucky to have a few people, you know, a few friends and family. It was packed. There wasn't a seat available. It was my first lesson on evangelism. I did that for 5 straight years. Finally, Alan came to me and said, "Rob, would you do all 5 lessons in a ballroom?" So I went to a ballroom. I walked into that ballroom. There was standing room only.
Wow.
At that point, I realized there is a craving right now in churches of Christ to learn how to do soul winning. So I did those lessons. It had incredible results. People were calling saying, "Hey, can you come and teach us?" There's no way with a full-time work I could do that. Rudy Kane had me come and film it at World Video Bible School. People were purchasing the DVDs. And finally, we decided, listen, I think we can help more people go to heaven just focusing on evangelism than focusing on our local work. It was Alan who called me and said, "Rob, have you ever considered starting a school of evangelism? We would like you to come work under the umbrella of House to House." And that's how the school got started.
So somebody might hear this, House to House School of Evangelism. What is that?
Well, it's a school where we go to the congregation and train the saved, teach the lost. The purpose of the school is personal evangelism. We're going to give the church an entire program helping them develop their members, their preachers, their elders, focusing on the purpose of the church, which is to make known to the world the manifold wisdom of God. You know, for too long, Don, churches have focused on the wrong thing. And if you look at a church, give them a 12-month calendar. Most churches have their 12-month calendar filled up already for 2022, 2023, 2024, because there's certain things we do every month. For example, you know, we've got to have the holiday party in December. You know, in January, we might have some type of Pew Packers program start up. You know, then in February, we've got the Valentine or sweetheart party or marriage retreat. Then we go to March and we have some type of teachers workshop or gospel meeting. Of course, in May, don't forget the important graduation banquet. And we do those every month, but where's the evangelism? Churches are not training their church members how to do the purpose of the church. The purpose of the school is to get churches doing that again. Most churches, Don, they don't know how to do it. It's been so long. It's been 40 years since the churches of Christ have shown a net growth year. 40 years. If a normal business operated under those conditions, they'd be bankrupt. So we have bankrupt churches. 111 churches closing their door every year is not sustainable in this country.
Now, you said it's been this long since we had a net growth. Does that mean that congregations are shrinking?
That's exactly what it means. In fact, you ask any director of a work, you ask Gospel Broadcasting Network, you ask Freed-Hardeman University, you ask House to House, Heart to Heart, ask Apologetics Press, ask them if churches are shrinking or if they're increasing. Any director will tell you we're losing support because churches are no longer operating. They'll send us a letter and say, listen, we cannot support this work because we're not in existence anymore.
Yeah. Now, you described this as seminars that you go out and do for congregations. So why is it considered a school?
Well, it's a school because I don't want churches thinking, this is a gospel meeting. We bring a guy in with a particular theme on evangelism, and then he leaves. If that's what they want, they're going to be sadly, disappointed because it's not going to have an effect. Gospel meetings are great. I'm a proponent of them, but most churches, a few months later, they've forgotten pretty much, what happened in that gospel meeting. I do not want that to happen. So we have put a package together. It's an 18-month package. When you enroll in the House to House, Heart to Heart School of Evangelism for the first 6 months, we're going to help till that soil. We're going to send you information to get the church ready, to make sure they realize something big is about to happen. We're going to send you videos to watch on a Sunday night when the church is gathered together, when you have all your teachers, deacons, elders in an auditorium. I'm going to begin teaching you about what we're going to do. We're going to send you articles to put in your bulletin. We're going to make sure you're ready. This is not going to be something that we do at the last minute.
Right.
When we get there, we're going to have 7 to 10 lessons where we start at square one, and we're going to give you all the training you need to put this together in the local church. It's not just about teaching a particular study method. This is about a complete package, helping elders implement it. So we're going to stand with you. And in fact, we're going to meet privately with elders and preachers and give them the nuts and bolts of making it work. When we leave, we're not going to forget about you. You're enrolled in our school. For the next 12 months, we're going to send you every 2 weeks tips for evangelism, things that you could be doing. We're going to call you. We're going to email you and ask, where are you in the program? How are things working? We're going to send you videos. We're going to have virtual meetings with the elders. And I think the most important part, we're going to be accountable. You're accountable to tell us, okay, what's going on? Have you trained the church yet? Have you given them the method? Has the preacher got in the pulpit and preached through it? Are you reaching out into your community? How many Bible studies are you having? Are you having success? If you're not, let's find out why.
When I think when people think about House to House, Heart to Heart, they think about the little magazine that gets mailed out, and they think of House to House as a mailing organization. How is House to House different from the House to House School of Evangelism?
The House to House publication is one of the greatest tools we have in the Brotherhood for producing contacts. And let me give you an example. When I first came to Jacksonville, I was in the meeting with Alan and with Robert White and Ralph Harmon. Homer Smith was there. And Brother Robert looked over at me and he said, Rob, he says, I got a phone call from a congregation in Montana. He said, I get this all the time. And they said, they've got a contact from House to House, Heart to Heart. Now what? And I looked at him, I said, now what? He says, yes, it's like they expect us to fly up there and do the Bible study. We have churches that literally don't know how to take a contact and develop a Bible study. And we also have churches that have ripe fruit on trees, and they're not picking it. Alan said, Rob, we have ripe fruit in a lot of these churches that are enrolled in our program. They don't know how to pick the fruit. That's our job at the school. We're going to train you how to pick the fruit. House to House produces the fruit. House to House is a great tool for cultivating a local community. Now, to be clear, it's not the only tool we teach. In fact, it's one of many tools that we're going to ask you to use in reaching out. So I'm not there just to sell a magazine. In fact, if that magazine did not produce contacts, Rob Whitaker would not be promoting it. I'm only talking about House to House because I know it works. Don, I was a local preacher in 3 churches. In every congregation where I was the local preacher, we used House to House, Heart to Heart. In every congregation, we baptized somebody. I've been at Jacksonville now a couple of years. We've had over a dozen baptisms, and almost all of those baptisms, they go right back to House to House. That's how we found them. That's the source of the contact for us. I go around the country and I've heard churches tell me, hey, Rob, House to House isn't working for us. If it's not working for you, I can almost guarantee I can find the reason why. Either you've not used it long enough, you're not using it correctly, you're shifting it around to different zip codes all the time. We know it takes at least 2 years at the same zip code before you begin to see results. Let me share with you real quickly what just happened. We had a family visit us at Jacksonville, and we cultivated the Bible study, took them out to eat, brought them over to the house, and they were sitting there. We were watching a football game. My wife had made some appetizers, and this is common, something we teach in our seminar. It got to a point where the game was out of hand. So I looked over at, his name was Perry. I said, Perry and Ellen, I said, why did you come to Jacksonville? She smiled. She said, Rob, when we moved here 20 years ago, we got this little publication called House to House and Heart to Heart. She said, we love reading it. We've grown a little disgruntled with our church. So we decided we're going to give the Church of Christ a try. Without that publication, they'd never walked into the church building. About 2 months later, they're baptized into Christ. And I can give you story after story of people just like that.
Wow. Now, where is the House to House School of Evangelism located? People may be thinking, well, this is like a university, a brick and mortar school somewhere. Is that right?
The House to House, Heart to Heart School of Evangelism is located at your congregation. Okay. So this is a unique school. We realize the salt of the earth guy raising a family, working 40, 50 hours a week, mama, working and trying to care for her home. They don't have time and vacation time to pack up their bags and come to school. We bring the school to you. So this is a mobile school. This is a school that involves myself, my wife, and my children. We all come. You get 4 of us, and we're all going to work hard to help the local church learn how to do evangelism. So the great thing about this school is that we come to you.
Okay. Now, if you enroll in the House to House School of Evangelism, what happens next? If a congregation calls you and says, Rob, this is very interesting. We want to do evangelism. How do we enroll, and what happens?
Once you make contact with us, we're going to put you on the schedule. And so on the schedule, at 6 months out, we begin the process of tilling that soil. We begin seeing that preparation material. Here's what you need to do at 3 months out, at 4 months out, at 1 month out, at 2 weeks out. So there are a lot of steps you take to get ready. And we're going to send you all that information. Again, once you're in the program, we're going to provide you a schedule. And the schedule is going to be based upon what's best for you. This is not a one-size-fits-all kingdom. Every church has different needs. Some congregations, hey, if you can come Friday and Saturday, that's great. Some, can you come on a Sunday? I'll be there on a Sunday. Can you come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? I'll do whatever best. So once they enroll, we begin working with them, with elders, with preachers, helping them to achieve the goal, to change the culture of the church. That's the goal. If you don't change that local church culture, it's not going to be effective. What do I mean by changing the culture? Focusing the church like a laser beam on local growth and personal evangelism.
How far out are you booked? If a church said, this sounds great, we want to book one right now, could they do that?
About 12 months. And so if you gave me 12 to 16, 18 months, we can get you on the books, which meaning 6 months from that point, we're going to start making contact with you. And the only reason it's taking so long is that there's so many congregations enrolled, and the staff, we're growing. In fact, we're 5 years from where we thought we would be. At this time, we can't believe the growth that's happened. So we're hoping there are going to be more instructors and more of us doing this. But at this point, you're going to have to wait at least 12 months.
Now, sometimes people are skeptical. They might be thinking, well, this sounds like some sort of a money-making venture. If someone said, how much is it going to cost us to do the School of Evangelism, what would you say to that?
I'm sure your viewers aren't ready for this, but it's free. In other words, we don't have a set charge. And at the very beginning, we decided not to give churches a set charge. Some churches cannot afford it. We don't want money to keep churches from being, able to receive an evangelism training. Now, obviously, they're going to have to pay for the materials. My family cannot buy the materials for you. It's obvious that, we need help with the travel expenses. But here's the good news. There are churches that believe in so much what we're doing after we're finished. They say, Rob, if there's a small church out there and they cannot afford, to provide, some type of compensation, we will pay for it. And we've used that a couple of times.
Wow, that's incredible. When you go to a congregation to start the School of Evangelism, How long does this take? How many days is involved in this training process?
At least 2. We can do it in a 2-day period, which is one evening and an all day. For example, a Friday evening, then give me Saturday till 3 o'clock. We can give you 5 sessions, and then a split session, and then my private meeting with elders. But sometimes churches want more than that. They want some more details. They want more training. We can prolong it out to 5-6 days, but we need at least 2 days.
Can you tell me what this would look like if a congregation signs up for this, students begin to attend, the congregation attends this seminar? What are they going to hear you talk about? What topics are going to be covered?
The first lesson, which is the foundational, pivotal lesson, is let's get motivated. If people don't believe in what you're trying to teach, they're not going to do it. One of the biggest problems we have in church members is they do not believe evangelism works anymore. They haven't seen it in their pulpit. They haven't seen it in their local congregation for years. And so they don't believe it works. They're not doing it. Success is the best way to motivate people. So in our first lesson, we're going to just talk about conversions, and we're going to talk about real people that are happening, recently, that are coming to the cross because of the things we're teaching. The second lesson is to make sure they focus on the scriptures. It's what about the message? We don't have to change the message to get churches to grow. There's no gimmick, no gadget that's needed. We just need people to respect what the Bible says. The Bible is a blueprint for church growth and evangelism. Mm-hmm. People have forgotten that. The third lesson, how do you get into a Bible study? There's never been an evangelist who's lived on earth that's greater than Jesus.
Right.
Look at how he did it. Look at the techniques he used. Look at John 4. Look at the lawyer that came to Jesus. There are certain things, the rich young ruler, there are principles that Jesus used that we need to be using. We teach those principles. You can't do a Bible study if you don't have a method. I was recently down in Florida, Don, and there were over a dozen churches there, several hundred brethren, and I asked a question. I've never done this before. I said, brethren, raise your hand if you have a method for teaching someone the gospel. 10 people raised their hand. Hundreds of people were there. Now, if you're in a congregation and only a few people know a method to bring someone to Christ, no wonder we're being unsuccessful. No wonder, churches are closing their doors.
Yeah.
If they have no method, they're not going to be able to teach people. So you have to have a target. You have to have a method. You have to have a strategy for success. These are certain basic things. We're going to give you that method. It's a simple method called Back to the Bible. It's been used for years. And we're going to train you how to use it.
Okay, what is Back to the Bible?
It's a personal Bible study. It was created by Bobby Bates about 1979, 1980, and thousands, I'd say tens of thousands of people have come to Christ because of it. It's similar to like an open Bible study by Ivan Stewart. You've had good Bible study methods for years that have been used. Well, Back to the Bible is what we teach. It's inexpensive. It's simple to learn how to use, simple for the prospect. The number one word I get when I train people how to use it, and for those who, are on the other end, the prospect, that was so simple. But we're not going to stop there. When we're finished with that, we're going to split the church up, women and men. My wife's going to take ladies, and she's going to teach them how to apply it. There are gifts that ladies have done. Men, let's be frank, we just don't have those gifts.
Sure.
They're great evangelists. And so she's going to talk about things they can be doing. I'm going to talk to men about the 10-step program, and we're going to walk them through it. My favorite session is the end session. It's when I get to sit down with elders, preachers, sometimes deacons. I say, fellas, let's put a plan together, a timetable where this works right here in your congregation, and we're going to follow up right after that. When we leave, we send an email as we're leaving, going down the road. We're sending emails out saying, okay, here's step 1, and we're going to be in constant contact with you.
So what kind of results are you getting? When you go in and do this seminar, is it really producing results? Are congregations then baptizing people? Are the members able to do this? And are they really seeing converts because of this?
If we weren't seeing results, I'd go back to local preaching. And I think we should be result-oriented. If something's not working, stop doing it. The results are seen, proof is in the pudding. So these churches report back to us, and they're seeing more baptisms than they have seen in memory. We put out a publication. It's called Reaching the Lost. The reason for that publication, Don, is to catalog these reports from churches. So we're going to take a church like South Haven. Mm-hmm. We're going to say, okay, here's what happened at South Haven 1 month out, 6 months out, 12 months out. We're going to put pictures of the baptisms in that publication. We're going to not only do that, but in the Reaching the Lost, we're going to give articles, tips for evangelism, different tools that are coming available. It's a strategy. And here's the best part of Reaching the Lost. It's free. All you've got to do is sign up. And so when we're in these seminars, we send out around a clipboard. They sign up and we mail it right to them. It's quarterly. And so people can read the results. Don't believe me. Believe the elders and all these preachers that are saying, hey, listen, this works. This is what's happening here. And if it's not working, usually I can find out why. These are principles that work, not because I thought of them. They're principles that work because Jesus told us about these principles. And for the most part, people just aren't doing them. That's why it's not working.
And I should mention this. Someone might think, well, he's just trying to pitch his method. I've heard you say on numerous occasions, you don't have to use our method, but you need to use some method.
That's exactly right. If you want to use Open Bible Study by Ivan Stewart, man, God bless Ivan Stewart, his family, and the good work they did. There's been, the Jewel Miller film strips, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have come to Christ because of that good work.
My family was converted through Jewel Miller, yeah.
So we're not here to outshine one lighthouse over another lighthouse. But here's the point. Most members have no method. Don, there are preachers that have no method. And they've come to me and said, Rob, I'm a little bit ashamed. I have no method. Can you help me? And so we all need a method. Every Christian does. You can go to heaven without being a preacher.
Right.
You can't go to heaven if you don't take the mission of seeking and saving the lost to heart.
Right. What tools do you recommend for evangelism at the House to House School of Evangelism?
Well, we bring all the tools with us. And I guess the most basic tool is back to the Bible itself. It's a 3-lesson booklet. It's very simple to use. And it's been used for years among churches. And it's easy to teach. Literally, a preacher who's never gone through it before can take it, train their church, because they're fundamental principles and topics that you've heard since your boyhood in Bible class. And people love back to the Bible. It allows anyone to do evangelism who wants it, from the youngest to the oldest. Now, there are other tools like Does It Matter? Mm-hmm. This is a one-method Bible study for someone, for example, maybe they've sat in the pews for years, but they've never obeyed the gospel, but they have a foundational understanding. Well, they don't need 3 studies.
Right.
Then we have it in a digital format for people who don't want to sit down personally. You can send it to them. I'll do the Bible study for you. It'll be me and the camera, or me and the prospect who's watching on, the media device. We have a personal evangelism workbook that's full of accounts of conversion. I teach the principles. It's like the seminar in a written form, and then I have illustrations and charts and self-helps in that workbook that people need. We have DVDs, training DVDs, that if you can't get me there to do a seminar, there have been hundreds of churches, Don, that have taken the seminar in DVD or digital format. They have played it before the church on, say, a Sunday night, bought in the materials and used it. Obviously, it's not as effective as me being there, but some don't want to wait 12 and 18 months. And so that's how they choose to go about it. Nicole, for ladies, has a brand new book called Recipes for Evangelism. In fact, it's just in its 2nd edition. It's expanded. I've got to say, I don't know anything like it in the Brotherhood. Recipes for Evangelism is just not, cooking and ingredients. This is about how women can be effective in soul winning. Honestly, without my wife, you can take over half of our conversions and eliminate them. She is the key to get through the door so we can have the Bible study. And she tells you about it. This is what's neat about that book. Wilma Bates is still living. Her mind is solid. We said, Wilma, would you write a chapter in it and tell us about evangelism for ladies? It's an exciting read to read that. So we've got a lot of tools available for people to use. What good is it to tell someone, go teach and preach, but not provide them the tool to do it and the training on how to use the tool?
Now, you mentioned the DVD that a church could get and use. Could an individual, if an individual's watching this and they say, I'm excited, I want to learn how to do personal evangelism, could they just order that themselves and
Absolutely.
Use it?
They can order it right from us. And a lot of individuals do that. They get the DVD and some of them give it to their elders, say, you've got to watch this. There's a lot of tools that are being used. Can I mention one other tool?
Sure.
We have a brand new one called Believe the Bible. Don, when we were growing up, most people believed in God. Mm-hmm. And when Ivan Stewart wrote Open Bible Study, when Bobby Bates wrote Back to the Bible, most people believed in God. And you didn't have to start with, hey, is there a God? That's not the case anymore. There's a growing population in our own country, even in the South, of people who don't know who God is.
Yeah.
They don't know Jesus. They don't know the Bible. We're starting with back to the Bible for someone who doesn't believe in the Bible. Doesn't make sense.
Right.
So this is called Believe the Bible. It's 3 booklets. Again, the design, be simple. How do you teach someone who doesn't believe in God? We're going to guide you through that entire process. So we have tools to fit different situations.
That is good. I remember on one occasion having a Bible study with a man, and I opened my Bible and we started, and he said, I don't even believe that book. I closed the Bible and I thought, where do we go now?
Yes.
And that's exactly what that's designed for.
Absolutely. And I can remember the same thing in my life. 20 years ago, I don't believe the Bible. And of course, I've been familiar with apologetics all my life. I can remember, we have Apologetics Press in the Brotherhood. They do a tremendous work. I've read their materials, read their books all my life. How do you take all that material and then put it into a Bible study for someone to use?
Right.
It's challenging. Believe the Bible took me years to put together, and I had a lot of help to do it.
Yeah. How does a person enroll in the House-to-House School of Evangelism?
They need to go to evangelism.housetohouse.com. That's the website, or just email or call me. And the information is provided on the screen. It's simple to access. And what we know is that if people will do this and take that first step, if they'll go to our website, they'll see the videos. We give samples of what we're doing. They're going to see, for lack of a better word, testimonials from churches that say, hey, this is what happened when they came. We highly recommend this. We have recommendations from preachers all over the Brotherhood, from elders. So we have a rich amount of materials there for them to look at and get a sample of it.
Okay. We've only got about 2 minutes left, but let's wrap up with this question. What is the purpose of the school? What is your ultimate goal?
2 things I'd like to say. 1, our motto is to train the saved, to teach the lost. We have to do 2 things in the Brotherhood in a much more deliberate way. Our schools of preaching do an excellent job training preachers, but it's not their job to train our church members how to evangelize. Churches must train their church members how to do Bible studies. Sadly, most churches are not doing that. They're relying on the preacher and the elders. Don, if we continue to rely on preachers and elders, at best we maintain. At best you maintain. And not until the church members get involved. So when our purpose, we come to train the church members. We want everyone there. The culture must be changed. Where the graduation banquet, yes, I'm all for graduation banquets. I'm all for, holiday parties. It can't be the focal point of the church. Can you imagine if we put as much time into creating a class to train our church members and as much energy as cultivating as we do all these other things? Don, we'd be busting at the seams. The School of Evangelism is designed to do that for churches.
Rob, what do you say to a person who says, I can't do personal evangelism?
I would say to that person, then you can't be like Jesus. And I say that with all respect. Jesus came to seek and save the lost. And Jesus gives us the example in his life. If I want to be like Jesus, I've got to be involved in evangelism. It doesn't mean you have to lead a Bible study. It doesn't mean you have to be the teacher of a Bible study. There are various ways you can be involved in the school. We present a lot of options for people. For some people, maybe it's just writing a card. We have so many conversions because of that card. We talk about it in the seminars. For some people, it's follow-up studies. For some people, just having them over for dinner. Just the various greetings to visitors. There is something for everyone to do at the church in evangelism. So you can do it. Maybe you're not going to lead a Bible study. Maybe that's not your talent. But, it may not be your talent if you lead a Bible study to write a sweet little card. So there's a lot of things we can do. Anyone can do that. It's very simple.
All right. Well, Rob, thank you very much. We love and appreciate you and the work that you are doing. If you're interested in finding out more about the House-to-House School of Evangelism, reach out to Rob at the information that's been provided, or reach out to us at the Gospel Broadcasting Network, and we will help direct you. Thank you for joining us.